Now at 10, Santa Fe teachers set to go back to school tomorrow as the community continues to grieve. Houston's police chief answers critics after his tough stance on guns goes viral. The Texas runoff race results are in, and parents forced to sue their own adult son to get him out of the house.
But up first tonight, breaking news. Houston police are looking for this missing boy.
No one has seen 9-year-old Dayton Malik Schumann since 4 o'clock this afternoon. He was last seen at the Amherst Apartments on Valley Forge Drive, that is near Beltway 8 and Briar Forest. Take a good look at this little guy. If you see him, call Houston police.
Right now, teachers and staff are preparing themselves for a tough day tomorrow at Santa Fe High School.
It will be their first day back to school since Friday's shooting that killed 10 people and wounded 13 others.
The teachers will be taking time to console one another while emotionally preparing for when school resumes next week.
Yeah, Lauren Tallarico joins us now with a look at some of the questions people have, Lauren, about how all of this is going to work.
Right, Len. So this is what we're verifying tonight. Okay, we know teachers go back to school tomorrow. Teachers and staff and students a week from today. But there are still a lot of unanswered questions tonight, so we asked the district the following. Will students be able to bring backpacks to school once they go back? Also, what if students are just too scared to go back to school this year? And the same question goes for teachers too. Finally, what happens to the art room and other areas of the school where lives were lost this past Friday? Now, all of these questions have to stay in this middle category because we just don't know right now. But we want you to know that we've asked the appropriate people, and when they make a decision, we're going to let you know. We also found this out today. Graduation day will still be on June 1st, and that's coming from the district. The final thing we're verifying tonight is a rumor that the confessed shooter wasn't even supposed to be at Santa Fe High School, that he was zoned somewhere else. Well, we know that is false, and he was zoned to Santa Fe. Glenn, Mia.
Thank you. New tonight, the body of Sabika Sheikh is back home in her native Pakistan. She was the foreign exchange student who was one of the 10 victims killed at Santa Fe High. She came to Santa Fe back in August and was just a few weeks away from returning home.
And we are getting new insight tonight on Angelique Ramirez, one of the victims from Friday's shooting, who we're learning was very close with her church. Today, her youth minister at Day Spring Church told us Ramirez was unique and beautiful both inside and out. Richard Porchot says he'll remember her for her faith and her fun-colored hair that changed almost every week. He says her family and the entire close-knit community are continuing to grieve.
Everybody knows somebody that was affected. Family members, you know, that was my best friend, that was my cousin, that was my brother or sister. And so everyone is affected. So when you talk to anybody, you're going to find that connection.
Angelique leaves behind an older sister and a younger brother.
Tomorrow, Governor Abbott will have day 2 of his roundtable discussions on how to keep kids safe at school. Wednesday's meetings will focus on gun regulations, mental health, and underlying causes of gun violence. The first day of talks today in Austin focused on how to improve security at schools, making it more difficult for them to become a target. Ideas including things such as more school marshal training, more behavioral counselors, limiting school entrances and exits, and putting more officers at the front of the buildings.
We all share a common goal, and that is to make sure that we protect innocent lives in the state of Texas. Whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, whether you are pro-gun or believe in more gun regulations, the reality is that we all want guns out of the hands of those who would try to murder our children.
These discussions will wrap up on Thursday when lawmakers will hear survivors of recent school shootings, including some from Santa Fe.
The NRA took aim at Houston's police chief on Twitter over the weekend, criticizing him for talking politics in the wake of Santa Fe. Levi Ismail sat down with Art Acevedo, who says it's gun sense rather than common sense that we have to address. Levi?
Well, Chief Acevedo is refusing to be bullied, and you'll notice from his Twitter page here, he's not standing down for anyone, not the NRA or anyone for that matter, who wants to stand in the way of common sense gun laws when it comes to just keeping our kids safe in schools.
Acevedo clearly doesn't care. He'd rather go after you, the NRA member, than MS-13 gang members.
They purposely mislead, mischaracterize, and twist words.
Though if you ask Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo, he'll say he was as clear as he could be.
None of us want to see gun confiscation of people that are law-abiding Americans of sound mind and responsible gun owners.
With that in mind,
we do want to see action taken against those that are irresponsible, are criminals, or are in psychological distress. If that makes me a communist, so be it. But I'm not going to stop speaking.
Or tweeting. Acevedo posted one message on what he calls gun sense after the tragedy at Santa Fe, and Twitter went ballistic. Specifically, the NRA.
A police chief who thinks it's completely appropriate to ignore the law of the land.
What you call talking politics, Acevedo says, is common sense.
We need to have consequences, real consequences, not just when a child takes a firearm from you as a responsible gun owner.
At the school level, he wants strong consideration into safety measures like metal detectors you'll find in inner cities.
Because of their safety measures in schools, they don't seem to be impacted disproportionately like it seems in suburbia.
Where you stand right or left, Acevedo says, shouldn't matter.
At the end of the day, what we need to do is act.
As for the critics, he hasn't forgotten about you.
I'll be watching closely, and so are my lawyers. I don't know about other people, but they've got some deep pockets, and they've got some consequences.
NRA TV, the clips that you just saw in that last story here, they actually approached Chief Acevedo for an interview, which Acevedo replied simply no. I mean, in this case, he says the same thing he told us, which they mischaracterized the comments that he's made before, so he really doesn't trust doing the interview. Guys, back to you.
Levi, the debates, discussions, and investigation will continue, no doubt, for months. And we will be there every step of the way, keeping you updated on air and online at KHOU.com and our social media pages.
All right, let's get a check on the weather now. It's not a bad night out after another rainy day, but there is something else.
Yeah, David's tracking the tropics. It's not even technically hurricane season, but there is something out there, David. What is it?
Well, it's sort of a time where it's kind of hurry up and wait. We're waiting to see if something will form here in the Western Caribbean, then move into the Gulf of Mexico over the next several days. Now, computer models over and over and over again for the last several days have been suggesting that yes, a tropical low is going to form here where the letter X is near Cozumel, and then move north into the Gulf. It has been given the designation of Invest 90L. That means that all the Hurricane Center's computer models are now working on a solution for this. We think it's going to move into the Gulf by Friday, so it's Tuesday now, so this has several days to slowly move into the Gulf. We've got lots of time to watch it. This could be the first named storm of the season if it can get its act together in the Gulf. That being said, what is the forecast right now and how does it impact us? Not much if this forecast ends up being correct and verifies. This would put the heaviest rain from New Orleans east over into Florida and Atlanta, Georgia, while we would end up with a relatively dry and nice Memorial Day weekend. So coming up, I'll show you the latest computer model run on this. We'll look ahead to that weekend forecast as well and talk about tomorrow's chances for rain.
The results are coming in right now for the primary runoff elections.
And we're following three of the biggest races that affect our area, starting with the Democrats who want to take on Governor Greg Abbott in November, and former Dallas County Sheriff Lupe Valdez celebrating victory tonight over Houston businessman Andrew White. She was leading from the moment the polls closed and never lost that lead. Check out her watch party that is up in Dallas right now. She made history by becoming the first Latina and openly gay woman to serve as a major party nominee for the governor of Texas. She is expected to speak there at about 10:15.
And here in Houston, Grace White is on the northwest side where she is hearing from Andrew White. Grace?
Andrew White just got off the phone with Lupe Valdez. He told us he called to congratulate her and fully endorse her for the governor's race this fall. It was a close race at times tonight. At one point, only 4,000 votes separated the two candidates. The Houston businessman and son of the late Texas Governor Mark White had a strong support here at home in Harris County, but the question was always, would that support carry him statewide? Here's what he had to say just a few moments ago.
Tonight was a tough night, but I've enjoyed getting to know so many people around this state. I wouldn't trade this for the world. I just called Lupe Valdez and congratulated her on winning the Democratic nomination for governor.
White argued all along that he was the more moderate candidate to take on Governor Greg Abbott this fall. Now it will be up to Lupe Valdez, the former Dallas County Sheriff, to rally the Democratic Party. Len and Mia, back to you.
Okay, Grace, now let's check the race for Congressional District number 2.
That is the seat currently held by Congressman Ted Poe, who is retiring. Let's take a look at this map. The district covers a large portion of the northeast side, like Kingwood, Humble, and Huffman, and stretches around to the west side. Now let's take a look at the results. Retired Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw held a commanding lead over State Representative Kevin Roberts all night long. You can see Crenshaw there with 70% as opposed to Roberts 30%.
And check it out now. Crenshaw being surrounded by supporters at his watch party in the Rice Military neighborhood. Here's what he told us just moments ago.
I have no political experience necessarily, although I think we've gathered our fair share in the last few months. But policy experience is what we do have. We have an understanding of what's needed behind the scenes to protect Americans.
Crenshaw will now face Democrat Todd Litton in November. Those are just a few of the runoff races being held tonight. We'll have all the results updating live on our website, KHOU.com, as well as our KHOU 11 mobile app.